Hi, I'm Michael. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really excited to share this information because I think it can really help your business. I'm a mortgage agent, and I've known Julie for many, many years, and asked if there was an opportunity to come and speak to the office, and she was gracious to invite me. So I'm really excited to do that. Also a little bit nervous, but it's okay. So let's make it as light as possible, obviously, and then the material is. You guys, it's going to be stuff that you have an understanding about, but a little bit more in depth, I guess, and some strategy on how to execute it. So let's get started. Thanks again for not being there as opposed to here. I would want to say, and it's a great thing that you're here instead of there, because I think it was Eric Thomas. He's the I don't know if you've ever heard of him. He's called the hip hop preacher. He's very popular, #1 motivational speaker in the U.S. right now. And he basically said that stop watching other people live their dreams and spend the time to live your own dream or reach your own goals. So
that's very apropos for today.
Yeah. So hopefully, you're spending some time to learn some information that can help you reach your goals for this year. Okay.
Inspired by fun.
Right.
So, and if you haven't never heard of Eric Thomas, you should look him up. He's
Yeah, I've never. Has anybody here heard of him?
No.
Eric Thomas.
Yeah, his
He's
handle is the
hip
hip
hop.
hop preacher, right? So
Oh, that
he's
is
buddies
right
with,
up your alley, dude. You're like cool.
yeah, it's pretty
Natalie,
cool.
that's you.
But-
Oh, I didn't like that.
Hey,
Oh,
there you
You're
are.
like cool. You're hip. She's hip.
There you go, Eric Thomas.
We're worried
is
about
awesome.
you. We got our whole team.
All right, so today I'm here to talk about something that we call the Create 5 strategy. Okay, so what is a Create 5 strategy? It's a plan. It's a well-developed plan, and it's a proven plan that can help you create an extra 5 deals, ideally 5 deals. Maybe it's more, maybe it's less this year that you wouldn't have gotten in if you didn't implement this strategy. Okay, so I'm going to start off with a question, and that is, what is an extra 5 deals worth to you, or what would it mean to you? Okay, so just take a minute to write that down. What an extra 5 deals would mean to you. I'll tell you what it would mean to me. It would mean that I can do some renovations in my home, and it would mean that I could take my 2 daughters to Disney World. Okay, so that's what it would mean to me. So just take another 15 seconds to write it down what it would mean to you, and if somebody wants to share, they could go ahead.
Is that paper first?
That's just a flyer, but you can have it. Does anybody want to share?
Extra 5 deals be worth to you. I'm
Yeah.
just writing it on my phone.
Okay. Does anybody want to share? You don't have to, but if you'd like to. Okay, well, just think about it. So in terms of business-wise, an extra 5 deals. In terms of volume, I saw this slide here. I hope you can see it, but it's TREP statistics for 2018. There's over 50,000 registered agents, and granted, 20,000 of them are probably not practicing because they've had 0 transactions this year. But what stands out is that 25,000 agents in the GTA, they had between 1 and 6 transactions in 2018. So an extra 5 deals to them would represent 80 and up percentage in volume increase, which is huge, right? That would make a huge difference in their business. And then the line below is between 7 and 12 deals. That's an additional 5,000 agents. So again, that would represent 40% or more in volume. So I think any agent would like that volume increase, right? I sure would. And in terms of dollars, average price in the GTA transaction is around $790,000. We're using a 2.5% commission. That's around $20,000. So an additional 5 deals in terms of money or extra commission is $100,000. Okay? So $100,000 to me would definitely help me get my renovation done and bring my kids to Disney World. So this is what we're talking about here. This is what I hope that this information or this strategy can help you achieve. Okay? So the question is, how do we do that? So how do we create these extra 5 deals? And that's through waking up your database. So another question here is, in a given year, what percentage of your database, or the database of homeowners, your clients, what percentage would actively be thinking about using your services in a given year? Just any number. Anybody think?
That would be what?
Actively looking to use your services. So they're thinking about a real estate transaction this year. What percentage of your database?
Depends how big your database is.
No,
Well, percentage.
I I know, what?
So is it 10%? Is that normal?
Okay.
Is it normal?
We're gonna use 10%,
Okay.
but I've heard it's a little bit less, but let's just use 10% because it's nice and easy. In my business, I've heard it's as low as 3%.
I was gonna say 2%.
Yeah,
I
it
would
could
say
be lower,
5. I would
okay?
say 5.
3.
Whatever.
Oh, sorry. I thought we were bidding. Okay, sorry.
At any rate, so we're talking about homeowners, so homeowners only, not people in your database that aren't homeowners. So let's just use the number 10% because that's what I have in my presentation. So out of every 100 people in your database that are homeowners, 10 of those people are considering a move this year. So hopefully you are in contact with that database or those clients on a regular basis, and you're in consideration for that transaction, that sale. So that would mean 10 transactions for you, hopefully. And let's assume that those clients then need to purchase a property. So again, hopefully you're in consideration for that, and that would be an additional 10 transactions, which would equal 20 transactions in a perfect world, okay? Which would be an amazing year for most of those agents, right? But I think you can do better. And I don't think that, the 20 deals a year based out of that make it, like I said, it's a perfect situation. So I think, adding extra deals or creating extra deals would definitely be beneficial. So we do that by talking to the other 90%. And before I get into this, I can just say a little bit about me and my business. Over the past 6 months, I've put a lot of time and effort into my database. I read a book, or I heard from somebody that the money is in the list. Okay, so your clients are the most important thing. Your database is the most important thing to cultivate. So I started doing that, and by the end of July, I will reach what my volume, which I did all of last year. Okay, so it's a testament to that. It's a part of that. Also, I've been doing other things, but investing in my database and talking to my database, creating opportunities has definitely helped me. And this is how I think it can help you as well. So maybe you guys are uncomfortable talking to the clients that are not interested in having a transaction. Maybe excuse me, that you're that's not just what you do. You just But I want to share a story with you. And I want you to think about who you are in this scenario, and just think about that for a moment. So there's a shoe company, and they are looking to join or get into a new market. Okay, so they send out their 2 best salespeople to that market. They get there and they decide that they're going to go their separate ways and see what's going on there. And then at the end of the day, they're going to convene and talk about what they found. So they go out and they do their research. They get back to the restaurant at the end of the night, and they start talking. And what became very evident to them is that nobody in this country wears shoes. Okay? So the first salesperson turns to the other salesperson and says, "Damn, nobody in this country wears shoes." And the other salesperson said to the first salesman, "Hell yeah, nobody in this country wears shoes," right? So it's all about perspective and how you look at things. That 90% of people today may not be thinking about your services, but it's an opportunity for you to maybe, if you provide them with the proper information that can help them, activate them, get them educated and motivated, where you can possibly create those extra deals, okay? And that is obviously through real estate investment. I guess I should have said that. The way to do that is through real estate investment, and that's what we're here to talk about, okay? A little bit about myself. Again, my name is Michael. Most people call me Mike, and call me whatever you like. I'm a mortgage agent with Mortgage Train. I'm affiliated with Mortgage Center Canada. We're one of the largest brokerage firms in the country. What does that mean? Well, it gives us access to all the best lenders and rates, et cetera, just like every other mortgage broker that you talk to. What I think that differentiates us from other people is that we are extremely, extremely client-focused. I have over 20 years of experience in customer-related industries or sectors. I worked in private sector, public sector prior to becoming a mortgage broker, or mortgage agent, sorry. And I think I've learned a lot, and I've implemented that all in my business and created a very client-focused, especially focusing on the client experience. From the very first initial contact to closing a deal and client for life, that's, I'm very focused on that to help them have a minimal stress process, because mortgages are obviously very stressful, but also have them enjoy it as well as best they can. So that's what I do. And also on top of that as well, we're very relationship oriented. We want to build relationships, long-lasting relationships with like-minded people. So I've formed relationships with other realtors that, and I focus on building that and cultivating that for the long term, and always trying to help my partners grow their business as well, okay? On a personal level, I am a lifelong Toronto citizen. I was born and raised in Mount Pleasant, Eglinton, then moved to Yonge and Finch, and now I live in Etobicoke. I have a wonderful wife. Her name is Daniela. She's a 2-time cancer survivor. This year will be 10 and 15 years of remission. So she's a super, super awesome, motivating person, and this is why I am standing here today to do this for you guys. I'm highly motivated to make this business work for me, for my family, obviously, and I have great support. But why I mention that more so is that my family, my wife and I, are all about giving and helping others, and that's why my business is geared towards that. And we truly believe that if we help other people get what they want, we'll get what we want in return. Over the past 15 years, we've raised and donated $130,000 to Prince Margaret. So that's an example of what we do in my personal life. I also have 2 children, Sydney and Kate, 4 years old and 1 year old. They're amazing. I'll show you pictures later. They're not sleeping very well today, so I'm not too happy with them, but they're awesome kids. So that's where I get my motivation from to do this, even though this is not my comfort zone standing in front of you guys, but that's where my motivation comes from, okay? On top of that as well, I'm not only here talking to you about real estate investment because it's part of the job, it's also something that I believe in and am involved in. So Julie and the JK team are my realtors. They've helped me through a few transactions. And I just want to share one thing before we move into this. They advised my wife and I to, when we purchased our new home, or not our new home, 6 years now, but when we purchased our family home, they advised us to go as high as possible to get the best house that we could, even though it was our max and we were scared, to do it. And we took their advice, and I can honestly say it was the best decision we ever made. Because if we hadn't, we would never be in the area that we are, or have the house that we were. And in the past 6 years, we have seen our property increase almost 2 times, like double what we purchased. So it was the greatest decision we made, so thank you. But on top of that, we noticed the power of real estate as an investment and holding that as an asset. So we went out 3 years ago and we purchased an investment property ourselves, and that too has increased about 40% since we purchased it. So again, I'm not only here to talk about this, I'm involved in it, and I truly believe that this works and can help you and your clients as well. So I'm here to talk to you about how we can convey this message to your clients, okay, or how you can. And we're here to answer basically 3 questions that most of our clients probably stay up at night at some point in their life thinking about. And those questions are, what we want to talk to them about is how to pay off their home in 10 years, how to put their kids through university, and how to build extra wealth for retirement, okay? I think you're going to agree most clients are thinking about these things, okay? So if we can help them achieve some of these things, it'd be a great benefit for their life. So we're talking about financial stuff, so I'll give you a little disclaimer. So it's not advice. These are my opinions. And opinions are like feet. Everyone has a couple, and most of them stink. So just take that as it's just my opinions. So here we go. We're going to get right into it now. The next 2 slides, I start off with basically the 2 most important slides that I would like for you to have an understanding of. Because I think if you can have an understanding of these 2 slides, it'll be easier for you to convey this message to your clients, and they'll be able to see that real estate as an investment should be something that they should consider. Okay? So really, if you have questions, please ask, and I'll be happy to clarify. But I think these next 2 slides are very important for you. So if this is the one thing you take away, on understanding these 2 slides. So there's 3 general or 3 popular types of investment classes that most of us or most of our clients will invest in. Okay, and that's businesses, owning a business, through shares, okay, and through property. So scenario, let's go through a scenario. So you walk into your bank, you've been a part of this branch for many, many years, you're a great client. You walk in and you see the branch manager and you say, hey, Mr. Branch Manager, I have $100,000 cash Well, it could be cash, might not be cash actually, it could be borrowed funds, could be through taking out equity out of your home, could be borrowed, however the case. And I have $100,000 and I want to invest in the business, okay? And so I want to invest in the business. How much money are you willing to invest or give me so that I can purchase this business? And what do you think the answer would be in most cases?
What does the bank say?
Yeah, what is the bank? Would the bank be willing to give you money to purchase that business? In most cases, no. But let's say because you have a great relationship with this branch, he's feeling very generous today, and he's going to give you $100,000. Okay? He's going to lend you $100,000. So now you have $200,000 to go and buy a business. Okay? Can we agree that most likely you're buying a small business that is not a passive income? It most likely will require you to work many, many hours for it to be successful. Is that something we can agree on? Okay. So after that, so that now you say, okay, great, Mr. Branch Manager, we've talked about businesses. Let's talk about shares. So can you go and grab your #1 financial advisor, have them come in the room. I want to talk to them because I want to invest this $100,000 with them. So the financial advisor comes in, and you say, here's the $100,000. I want you to invest it, probably in the form of managed funds, stocks, etc. And you say, I'm going to give this money to your financial advisor. How much money are you willing to put in so that they can invest it? And what do you think the answer is going to be? Most likely zero, again. But some clients, I'm sure, that are high net worth or have millions and millions of dollars of deposit at that branch, they might get from something. But again, let's assume that they're generous today and they're going to give you $100,000. So now that FA can go out.
It's good day.
Yeah, and they can go out and they can invest
That's a
that.
good relationship.
Very good.
I
Okay.
want the number of that.
Your grandparents banked at this bank, right? Okay. So now you have $200,000 and they're going to go and invest that for you. So you say, okay, great, we've explored these two options. How about we explore the option of property? So you say, I have this $100,000. And before you answer me, I'm going to tell you that I don't know what type of property I'm going to buy. It could be a house, it could be a semi, it could be a condo. We don't know where it's going to be either. But how much money are you willing to give me so that I can go out and buy this property? And in most cases, a bank would be willing to give you up to 80% of the purchase price, as long as you qualify for it, right? So they give you $400,000, and now you can go out and buy a $500,000 property. I know you can't really buy anything much in Toronto, but we multiply these numbers, it's whatever, etc. Okay? So that's the scenario. So on this next slide, it's all nice and laid out here. So I'm just going to grab a drink. So we have $200,000 to buy a business, $200,000 to invest in shares, $500,000 to invest in a property. What does that, if you look at that, and what comes screaming out here to you? Does anything come screaming out to you?
Leverage.
Yeah, okay. What I see is that, and it's not what I'm saying, it's what the decision by the lender, is that they are more willing and they feel that property is less risky than shares and a business, okay? And this is through their lending practices, not what I'm saying or what anyone else here is saying. It's very evident here in that and that's actually 4 times less risky in their eyes to buy a property, right? And so this is what the bank banks on. The bank banks on property. They don't bank on investing in shares and stocks. So, excuse me. It's pretty evident here, and it kind of goes against what we've always been told in our life. Banks always tell us to come in and give us your money, and we're going to go invest that money in managed funds, etc. But that's not where they're putting their money. They'd rather put their money in property, okay? So something to really understand. And if we can convey this message to your clients, it kind of, I don't think they've ever seen it in this way, okay? Any questions about that?
I agree. I think this is a very interesting thing that the banks, where they put their money,
Right.
right? Because this is them giving you money,
Yeah.
and this is where they choose to give their money. So-
And if you only have 100,000, if you are getting 400,000, you're getting more
Exactly.
for 100,000.
Exactly.
Rather in shares, you get 100,000 of shares. So,
Absolutely, for sure.
And businesses take a lot of work.
Yeah, and most of them fail, right? I don't know, the small
Right.
businesses, most of the small
That's a
businesses fail, right? So, okay, so let's take it, let's look at it in another way. So let's say our goal was to make $100,000 over a 5-year period, okay? So, in the first two instances, we would need a 50% return to reach that goal. In other words, it'd be 10% annually for the next 5 years, okay? I'm not sure, I'm sure there are people out there that are getting 10% annual returns on their investments. I don't know if it's common or not, but still, it's asking quite a bit from your investment, okay? But a property, we only need 20% return, okay? Which another way is 4%, 4%, 4%, 4%, 4% for the next 5 years. If you were to ask your clients if they have realized a 4% increase in their property value over the past 5 years, what do you think their answer would be? In most cases, yes, right? And they've actually seen more, okay? So it's something very attainable and something that your clients can understand because they've experienced it. Not to mention, like I said before, it's asking a lot less out of your investment, okay? As opposed to asking for 10% per year. So 20% return over 5 years is great, but how would you like to have a 25% return per year on your investment? Okay. So how do you do that? So here's the scenario. You purchase an investment property for $500,000. It's a condo in Toronto if you're lucky. You invest your $100,000. Okay, you drop that cash on the table, and the bank lends you $400,000. So let's just say property values increase at a 5% rate, so 5% annually. Okay, your $500,000 property is now worth $525,000, which is up $25,000. Your initial investment was $100,000, so now you have a 25% return on your investment. Okay? Most people that I talk to, and maybe it's similar with your clients, is that they don't see it this way. They see it as a 5% increase because they look at it as $500,000. But that wasn't their initial investment. Their initial investment was only $100,000. Okay? But they get to realize the entire gain. Now you may say that 5% is not the right number, or a client might say that 5% is not the right number. But here's a slide. I was at a seminar not too long ago, and a gentleman from Genworth, Canada, presented this slide. And it's existing house growth price in Ontario. So I know we're talking about GTA, but I think the GTA is probably a little bit more than Ontario. And without doing any calculations, I think you could just visualize most of those bars are between 4 and 6 and above. Okay? Obviously, in 2016 it was an anomaly, so wipe that one out. But I think it's fair to say that 5% annual growth is something that we can confidently say that happens. And even in years where there's the perception that house prices are coming down, like last year, 2018, there was still a growth of 2%. And just to let you guys know, if you don't already know, they are projecting a 4% growth for 2019 and a 3% growth for next year as well. So something that, I think the 5% number is actually very accurate. It's actually more than 5% over the past 50 years, but let's just use 5% to make numbers easy. Do you have any questions? Yeah? Cool. Okay. So now I want to talk to you about something called the compound effect. Everybody learns this in school at some point, but now let's apply this to housing. So in year one, buy that property for $500,000. We get a 5% increase, which is $25,000. So now our property is worth $525,000 at the end of the year. The great thing about this now is that the next year we start at $525,000, and the 5% is on top of that, et cetera, until we reach the end of the 5 years, where that property is now worth $638,000 approximately. Okay, that is a difference. The difference between the purchase price and the new value is $138,000. So that's equity growth in that property. And all the while that you've been holding this asset, you've been paying down your mortgage through rent, the collection of rent, and you've paid it down about $50,000. So you actually, after 5 years, have an equity gain of $190,000. Okay? Now, obviously, if you sold it, there'd be commissions, taxes, etc. But if you hold that property there, that asset, it's gained about $190,000 with a 5% increase year over year. Sorry. How many of your clients would be happy with that result?
Can
over
you
5 years.
give us the slide in this email?
Sorry.
Because this is like the perfect chart just to show someone.
Yeah, we can talk about that for sure.
This
I
is
have
like
materials.
super powerful, and it's funny, it's hard to kind of, it's so
It is hard to
simple.
explain.
And you know it in your head, but trying to actually explain it
Right.
to people is hard. But I think what you said is quite valuable in the sense of the rent is also paying down the rest of it. So
Right.
you not only are getting, like the market is doing it,
Absolutely.
you've got the principal pay down as well.
And that's good that you mentioned that, because now I wanted to touch on the fact, or the topic of cash flow. Okay, so this is assuming a positive or a neutral cash flow. So I know that the reality in Toronto today is that it's hard to find, or maybe harder to find a cash flowing property. Okay? But I want to give you an example, of an extreme example, of a negative cash flow property. So, and I'm not suggesting that you go out and you tell your clients to go and get a negative $500 a month cash flowing property, but let's just use that number. So this property is negative $500 cash flow. After 1 year, that client will have made $6,000 out of their pocket, right? They would have to take out $6,000. After 5 years, that's $30,000. Wipe $30,000 off that number. Do you think they'd still be happy with $160,000? They would, right? Again, I'm not telling you to go out and do that, because $500 out of somebody's pocket on a monthly basis might be difficult. But again, even with a negative cash flowing property, this still works. It's still beneficial to the client. Okay. So after 5 years, that property is worth $190,000. After 10 years, and this is just the 5% annual increase compounding on top of each other, that property, sorry, not worth, the equity gain, you have an equity gain of over $420,000. After 20 years, $1.1 million.
So that's your $100,000 that you put in there, and now becomes.
Yes. That is your $100,000 investment, okay?
I'm gonna go buy a condo.
So I know these numbers seem like 2.1 million, wow, that's a huge number. But
For sure.
I'm sure if you went back in history in MLS and you looked at a property that was 30 years ago to today, you probably would see an increase somewhere around this number, a percentage increase, okay? And what's that percentage increase? Well, after 5 years, it's a 38% annual return. And I know that I mentioned before that it was 25% per year, but once you add the compounding effect, it jumps up to 38%, okay? 43%, 55%, and 72%. How many financial advisors are out there telling their clients that they can see a 72% return, on their investment? Not many, okay?
I can pretty guarantee you.
So
Financial investment.
again, I know these numbers look astronomical, but let's assume that your client again, or maybe 5% is the wrong number. Maybe it is less. But I think if you ask your clients, let's go the extreme, is there a 0% increase of a home over an annual every year? And the answer is no to that. So maybe it's somewhere in between. It's not quite 5, but it's not 0. So let's say it's 2.5%. Well, after 10 years, it's still over $200,000. It's still over $500,000, right? So would they be happy with that as well? I think the answer is yes. Okay.
I don't think people do look at their $100,000 I do think they think of the whole amount as what they're investing, and if it only goes up
They do.
25,000, it doesn't sound like a lot.
Yeah.
But really, it is the bank's money too. You're just using the bank's money to build yours.
Yeah. And that's how all the people make their money, right?
That's
They
how the
leverage
big
other
ones
people's
make
money,
it.
right?
Yeah.
And two, like home ownership or land acquisition has been a primary way of all the millionaires and billionaires in this world over time. That's how they gain a large part of their money through land acquisition. So why can't we, right? Did you have a question?
No, I just was trying to say I know all of this,
Yeah.
but I can't explain it like you do.
Perfect.
Which
That's
is
what I'm
good
here
to
for.
put it in their face.
Yeah.
It is better
Yeah,
to
totally.
put it, let people
That's the thing.
visualize better than listening.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no.
So that's what I'm here for. So what now? So now I've shown you that. So how do we actually get this information to the clients? How can you implement this in your business today? Okay. And there's four ways that I'm here to talk to you about. The first is calling your database. And I forgot to mention before, maybe I did, but I'm going to re-mention it, that 90% of your database that is not thinking about making an action, many of them are sitting on large equity in their home, okay? And many of them that people that I speak to, some people don't even know that they can use their equity in their home to purchase another property, okay? So there's there's the opportunity there to educate them in that sense, because they have the ability, they have good income, they qualify for mortgages, maybe multiple purchases, but they don't even know about it until you bring this information to them, okay?
The other thing is, all of those people are doing exactly what you just said earlier, worrying about their kids'
Right.
university, because you hear about all that, worrying about retirement, and do they have enough money, and worrying about their mortgage being paid down.
Yeah.
Those are huge
Absolutely.
financial concerns for people.
Yeah, for sure, they're mine.
Yeah.
Okay, so the first way that you can implement this into your business today is by calling your database. So again, most people, a lot of realtors that I've spoken to, they don't like calling their database because every time they call their database, they feel like they're begging for business, because every time they call, they're either asking, do you want to sell, do you want to buy, do you know anybody that wants to sell or buy that I can help, I'll take care of them, blah, blah, blah. So they feel like they're begging, and at some point they don't want to do that continuously. But what if you can call your database, or the next time you call your clients, you're not asking for business, you're actually providing them with information that can benefit them and that can, put them in a better position. So calling your database and asking one of these 3 questions. Would you like to learn how some clients are paying off their home in 10 years? Would you like to learn how some
Sorry,
clients
I
are putting their
spoke
kids
wrong.
through university? You are ahead of the...
I'm
you are
sorry, I
ahead.
didn't realize that.
And would you like to learn how some clients are building extra wealth for retirement? So you're calling your clients and you're asking them these questions. I would imagine that the majority of those calls, your clients would say yes to at least one of these questions. Okay. So now, how do we explain it? So again, this is how we're going to explain it. So the first question is how to pay off your mortgage in 10 years. So let's assume that your client has a property and they have a $400,000 mortgage. After 10 years, they will have paid that mortgage down to approximately $275,000. At the same time that they had that home, they went out and they bought that $500,000 property. Okay, you advised them to do that. So they had that property. So we're 10 years down the road, they paid their mortgage down to $275,000. After 10 years, that's how much equity they have in that rental property. Okay, they go off and sell that property. They're going to pay commissions. They're going to pay taxes, but they'll probably still clear, I don't know, $330,000, $340,000. They can now go and take that money that they've cleared from that property and pay off their mortgage. Okay, so when somebody asks you how do I pay off my mortgage in 10 years, as opposed to the traditional 25 to 30 years, the answer would be to buy another property. Okay, it doesn't make much sense, right? Go into more debt to get out of debt quicker, but this is how, if these are the returns that we're getting, it becomes very clear. In 10 years, they can pay off their principal mortgage. Okay. How do you pay your kids' education? So in Canada, there's many different ways you can save for your children's education. I think the most popular would be the RESP, the Registered Education Savings Plan. If you don't know how that works, I will explain it to you because I have 2 kids. You can contribute $200 per month. So if you contribute $200 per month for 20 years, that's $48,000 in contributions. The government will then add an additional $7,200 to that, so a total of just over $55,000. Now, if you were to invest that money over that period of time, what I think the average of what we've seen in returns is anywhere between $80,000 to $100,000. Okay? So now you have, after 20 years, you have $100,000 to gift your child or give your child to go to school. So if you had that rental property that you bought and sold it, you'd have that much. Again, take off taxes and commission, probably clear, I don't know, $700,000 there. It's a lot better than $100,000, right? And the final question is build wealth for retirement. It's very simple, if you're 30 years old or under 30, buy one house, and that's your number. If you're a little older, buy more, okay? The reality is that most of the clients that are even going to be in a position to do this are in their 40s, 50s, and 60s. They probably have done the calculations. They realize that, if they continue on this path, when they do retire, they may not be financially independent. So what, our advice and what we've seen some of our clients do is they're buying multiple properties, one or two properties, holding them for 10 years or so, and trying to get as close to that number as possible. Okay? So yeah, it's great to hold something for 30 years. But there's other ways that we can help our clients do that as well, okay? So that's what we're gonna talk, that's what you're gonna talk to your clients about on the calls. And just to let you know, I have scripts available if you would like them to answer these questions. If you'd like them, just let me know and I can pass those on to you for sure. Okay. Any questions about this?
I do.
Yes.
Just on the kids' education thing, because I also have a 4-year-old and a 6-month-old.
Yes.
Okay, so you're, like, we put in the $200 every month, but you're so right. Like, so are you not doing $200 every month, or what are you doing personally?
I still am,
Just kind of
just
keeping it
because
back?
I don't have the ability to purchase another property right now.
Yeah,
But when I do, I definitely will.
yeah.
I'll stop.
So like, would you take it out to buy property?
I mean,
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
you're right, like, it's like slow moving
Yeah,
money, or you
exactly.
just save it for something better,
no,
right?
for sure. I mean, yes.
Yeah.
You can't really.
I don't know if you
You
can
get
pull it
dinged
out, I
on
mean, you
it
get
if you take
dinged,
it
right?
out,
Yeah,
But it's
but-
like,
yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah.
Or just stop doing that and
Instead
then
of
try
putting
and
it in
do
an RSP, put
Yeah.
it into a savings account for buying a new property.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And then when it's up enough, then you can buy one.
buy
Right.
something.
yeah,
And we were talking about it the other day, of partnering with somebody else, right? So Jen, for
Yeah.
example, Jen and KJ and I, 3 of us who are friends and realtors,
Yeah,
10, 15 years ago, we each put in a little bit of money and we bought a property, and then 5 years later, we remortgaged it and bought another one, and 5 years later, we remortgaged it and bought another one, all from our initial investment.
that's awesome,
Exactly.
yeah, that's really smart.
Right.
Where parents and kids could split on an
Parents,
investment property or
siblings,
something.
friends,
Yeah.
business partners here,
yeah.
it's not as hard as you think.
No, it's not hard,
No.
right,
It's just knowing that you can first,
Right,
right?
yeah.
Most people don't know, and they don't know how much they can qualify for, because they've never had these conversations.
right.
But definitely, this is where I'm gonna be putting my money as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the RSP, right? But, yeah, because the return is great.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also, daycare is not included in people's qualification, correct, right
No,
now?
we're not. No,
So
it's
you're able to qualify for more, and when they
Absolutely.
change that rule in the government, that's
So what
it.
is it?
not. Daycare, so daycare is not included in your ratios for mortgage and, for getting mortgage for qualifying, which, it's not a payment.
Yeah,
That's
it's
a-
not included,
it's
but
not
they're going to
included.
put it in as.
Well, there's a potential one day that it's a very
It's
large
like-
expense.
Exactly,
It's
When
like a
my
car
kids are in
payment.
kindergarten, then that's when they'll change the rules, right?
exactly.
Yeah,
But it can really change people's qualifications.
If they were to do that, for sure, absolutely.
it's huge,
Yeah.
it's
Many-
insane, it's like
yeah.
It's,
$3 to $4 grand.
Yeah.
it's
every month.
way
It's
more than a
crazy.
car payment.
Oh my God.
And they use car payments, you know what I
For sure.
mean?
Yeah, I know it's a massive
And
expense.
maybe you guys know or not, but some lenders do use child tax credit as that you can add to their income, so something to think about too. Do you have a question?
Question about the RSPs. People who already have RSPs, they can use that money as a down payment for the house.
Yeah.
Whether they're first time or second time buyer.
For first-time home buyers, they can.
Second
Uh,
time.
Second, no. They'd have to pay taxes just like everybody else to use it. They can definitely use it, they would have to pay
But
the
is it
taxes.
RSP and then
do an
student?
RSP.
No, I don't think you can use an RESP, I've never seen that. I've, no,
But you can liquidate an RESP.
you can definitely liquidate it if you pay taxes.
I heard though that could you use an RSP for anything related to education? Like
Education
we're buying
related.
a house in Kingston because your kid's going to Queens, you could use that money? I've heard that.
What if your house
It's
is
I have not.
No, it's it's
Yeah.
for education.
I'll find out, I've never
I've
never
heard
experienced that, I've never had a
somewhere.
client even
Yeah.
ask, so yeah.
Curious.
But,
Good question.
I can find that out for
Yeah.
sure.
So
And
it's
there's
housing.
definitely
It's residents,
investments
right?
in, in and around those universities, right?
Yeah, the problem with those is that most lenders, a lot of lenders won't touch many properties around the university.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, I looked
So it's
at
all
it, it was like leaning sideways.
So if you ever have clients that are thinking about that, make sure that they're talking to somebody first to see if that property is blacklisted from lenders, because there are properties that are. So keep that in
Why,
mind.
just insurance or?
They don't want it because they know that they're for rent to students, and they know that there's risk, right? There's much more risk. So anything close to it, anything that's classified as student residence, most lenders won't touch. So just something for you to talk to your clients about if they're having that conversation about a property near a university.
Maybe with more down payment?
Sorry?
They might require more down payment?
Uh,
Because a student.
No, no, they won't lend, they won't give you,
They
they
won't
won't
lend
give you a
for
mortgage.
No?
For certain properties.
They won't lend
Um,
for for you to buy
A student
house
property.
that might be rented to
Right.
students.
How about those rental condos that they're really
That's what I
pushing?
know, they're really pushing.
They're
those.
pushing them
They really are pushing them.
But you
and
can't
they're
get money.
guaranteeing rent.
The only people,
15
yes, and the
years.
only people, the
Yeah.
only lenders that will lend to
Yeah.
those are the ones that help build
The developer.
the developer, okay? So yeah, so if you went to another lender, they'd say no.
Good to know.
Oh, interesting.
Same with, have you ever had any people from Friday Harbor? Anybody?
What's that?
I know
Yeah,
people
I know
have
some
places in
people,
Friday
Okay.
Harbor.
Yeah.
A lot of lenders won't touch Friday Harbor either, so
Oh,
just, yeah,
okay.
that's a development up in Lake
Is
Simcoe
it us
area.
in
and it's
Why,
still-
why won't they?
I haven't gone into the details to figure it out, but I have heard that part of your ownership agreement is that it has to be available for certain weeks in the year to be rented to other people, and that's where the problem is. Okay? There are some lenders, but not all, so limited opportunity. Okay? Definitely something that they should be working out before you go out and buy that for them. Okay? All right, let's get back to this. So that's how you know we can implement this information into your business today and call in your database. Second way is first-time buyers. So you might be asking yourself, I did the first time I saw this. First-time home buyers, they can barely afford their first property. How are they going to afford the second property? Well, the answer is that no, they can't afford it today. But any clients that work with me, I put them in a program where every year I contact them and I notify them of the equity that they're gaining in their property, so that they know that. Also, before closing, I have this conversation with all my clients about potentially positioning themselves 5 years, 7 years, 10 years down the road, whatever it is, to purchase another property. Okay, so that's what I'm doing with my clients. It's something that you can be doing with your clients as well. Having them have this discussion early, so that later down the road, you're creating potential deals for yourself. Okay. Also, the opportunity, anybody that you have sold a house or have purchased a home 4 years ago, this year, they have to do something with their mortgage, okay? Whether it's renew, refinance, whatever the case. But now's the best time for them, if they're considering this, to potentially refinance, take out some money, and purchase another property if they're in a position to do so, okay? And without paying any penalties, et cetera, et cetera. So I would ask, I would say to you, look at your database, look at your files to see who 4 years ago purchased a home, and have that conversation with them, because they may be in a position today to do this, okay?
And programming them now for 4 or
Absolutely.
5 years down the road, it'd be like, okay, so this is the step, these are
Yeah.
the plans.
So, I mean, for me, I just, I helped a client who closed on June the 3rd. This is the conversation I had with him, because he expressed to me that he was interested in multiple properties. So we had this conversation, set out a plan, figured out how much money he needed to save on a monthly basis, whatever, so that in the 5 years, or even shorter, depending, that he can potentially buy another property. So these are the conversations I'm having with clients. So if any of your clients are going to work with me, this is what I'm talking to them as well. Okay? Sorry?
So
Any other
when you
questions?
buy a second property, you have first property, and
Yes.
then after 5 years, you want to buy a second property.
Mhm.
Also, your income has to increase.
Potentially.
To qualify for second property.
Maybe, maybe not. If we turn that initial property into a rental property, a lot of the times the costs are offset by the rent collected. So income could remain the same, and you can still qualify for enough of a mortgage to purchase that other property. Okay? It's all dependent on the situation, of course, but it's safe to assume, or safe to expect, that most people will have an income increase over 5 years as well, depending on their situation. Okay? So that's how you can implement this in first-time buyers today. The third way is any transactions that you currently have or currently working on. Okay? So this is a scenario, typical. I think this is a pretty typical scenario. You have a client, and you're going to help them sell their $600,000 home. They have a $300,000 mortgage, so that means they have $300,000 in equity in that home. In most cases, you're going to help them. Now you're going to help them buy property. Okay? And in that, they're going to buy a bigger home. But they're going to take all their $300,000 equity along with them and put it as a down payment on that property. They're going to buy an $800,000 home, so now they're going to have a $500,000 mortgage. Okay. Pretty standard transaction, right? So after 10 years, we're assuming that 5% increase. That property is now going to be worth $1.3 million. That client will have paid that mortgage down to $345,000. This is their principal residence. Okay. And they will have an equity position of that property of about $955,000. Okay, pretty good. You will have helped them with 2 transactions. You will have collected approximately $35,000 in commission. Okay. Sounds great, but I think we can do better. So I'm going to show you how. If you have this conversation today with the clients that you're working with here, maybe we can do a little bit better. So let's take those numbers again. $955,000, $345,000 mortgage, and $35,000 in commission. Same house, sold it, we have $300,000. Now, instead of them buying a house and moving or using that whole $300,000 that they have, they're only going to take $200,000. They're going to buy the same home. Now they're going to have a $600,000 mortgage. Okay, we're following, yeah? After 10 years, just like the last slide, house $1.3 million. Now their mortgage is a little higher, over $400,000. And their equity position is now $888,000. So anybody look at this and say, well, that doesn't make sense for the client because they have more mortgage and less equity, right? Than those numbers there. But how this makes sense and how this works is what they do with the other $100,000 in equity that they have. And what you are going to advise them is to go out and buy a rental property. Okay? And again, this is the best moment to do it when they're out there looking for their principal residence. Have this conversation. You know. Now, again, it's $500,000 home, $400,000 mortgage. Okay? After 10 years, using a 5% annual increase, that property is now worth $815,000. Mortgage of $275,000 collected through rent, or paid off through rent, most of that mortgage. And an equity position of $540,000. Okay? So now, total equity for that client is $1.842 million, about $500,000 more than if they had gone the traditional or the more common route. Okay. $500,000. That by having this conversation today, you will change your client's financial trajectory. Okay, potentially. Now, we look here now and we see that there's not 2 deals. There's 3 deals now. So now your commission is $47,000 or more than $47,000. Okay. But now let's just say after 10 years, that client is now in a position where they could take their equity out of that home, sell that home, pay their taxes, commissions, and go ahead and pay off their principal residence. Okay. That again puts them in a great position. So this is a win-win for the client, right? And guess what? When they sell their home in 10 years, you're going to still be in contact with them. They're going to use your services. And you're going to get another commission of an additional $20,000. So this is how, if you implement this strategy, not only are you putting your clients in a better financial trajectory, having them in a better position with a higher equity, you're also helping yourself and your business. So that's how, if you implement these strategies today, it can help you in your business. Any questions on that?
I like the paying off the mortgage.
Yeah.
Right.
That's like magic. That's a magic combo right there.
Okay. So the last way, the 4th way that you can implement this information in your business is through seminars. So I'm here sharing this information. This presentation is geared towards realtors who have a better understanding of real estate as an investment. We also have we do presentations for your clients. That presentation is different. It's geared toward the client, giving them more information, educating them much more. Okay. And it's not just about educating, it's about converting to action. So by giving these seminars, giving them the information, it gets your clients more motivated to potentially make a transaction. Okay. So what I'm saying is that I will help. If you would like, I will come to any seminars that you put together and speak to your clients, give that presentation out to them. Okay. I also, if you are interested in doing that, I have full marketing plan, and when I say that, I have templates for email invitations. I have templates for Facebook group posts, for e-bites, mail outs, all that type of information for you to send out to your clients so that you can fill that room easier, okay? And I can help you through that and coach you through that as well. It's not the easiest thing if you've never done it to put on, to get a room full of people. So definitely be happy to help you with that, and then I'd come and present this to your clients. What I've also seen, maybe some people are thinking that it'd be hard for them to fill that room. I've also seen in the past where multiple realtors get together and they fill that room with their clients, right? So 2 or 3 realtors get together, because I think, through your experience, I'm sure larger groups have a better response and a better outcome from presentations. And it's not really a competitive atmosphere. Like, you shouldn't be worried that other realtors are going to steal your clients, because they're really not there for that. They're there to learn information about real estate as investment. Okay. So that's that. So, in summary, this information is about seeing value and opportunity, right? It's about, we talked about shares, business, and property. The property is what the banks bank on. We talked about how you can teach your clients to pay off their home, to pay their kids' education, and build wealth for retirement. And we talked about the 4 areas in which your business can immediately apply this information. And that's through database calls, first-time buyers, current transactions, and seminars. Again, like I said before, I have scripts to help you if you're interested in speaking with your clients, and full marketing package if you are interested in holding one of those seminars, okay? In my experience, it takes between about 6 to 8 weeks to put on a seminar, so just keep that in mind, but definitely happy to help you with any of that. So, thank you very much. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer. If not, have a wonderful day.
We just need your contact info.
Absolutely, I have some stuff right here.
It looks like they're gonna.
Yeah, I have cards.
They look like they're gonna fall.
That was really helpful.
Yeah, so you're
Thank you.
Amy.
Yeah,
Nice to meet you.
That's wonderful.
I don't want to stand in it anymore.
I know, I keep trying to get my wallet smaller.
Billy John, yes.
Yes. I would.
When I first started,
Yes, yeah.
right, it was stiff, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Now it's,
This is like really valuable.
we
Yeah.
had in the cash there.
I will take that. Here's your flyer and here's the card.
And it only
Thank you
happens
very much. Sorry? I can,
yesterday. I was a couple times.
yeah, Kelly's awesome. She actually went to university, high school with my dad.
Oh.
And I was her
But you didn't do it here.
so yeah.
Yeah, I am.
Random question, your father was
Stuff at State Farm and I was
He was my dad's cousin, and he was my dad's.
So my mom,
Yes.
So this is what I said recently.
Wow.
yeah, for years.
I wonder sometimes when I
Thank
forget
you very
these
much.
gas, and then I get these apparently.
I will include you. Thank you very much. Okay, thank you so much for coming.
Photocopy it for everybody.
Eric Thomas.
And I only
Yeah,
go to.
hip hop
I only go to
preacher.
SOP.
Just go on YouTube, Eric Thomas. He's gonna pop up for sure.
I know, it's way easier than.
No, he's
And
my
you're
dad's
worried
son.
about the pin?
No, we were relatively close. He was my dad's son. Oh, okay. Yeah. So my mom and his sister,
Is now they've got so good algorithm.
she works there.
Algorithms that align 16
I don't know where.
That's okay. Yeah, my mom.
They're pretty
And
good.
then of course, they know they've got a
Yeah. But recently,
Well, no, they used to have, like, they had the always like, Duffers or whatever, and they would.
yeah, that was Rogers and Dufferin.
They really
They
don't.
walked by it.
Yeah, now it's at Lawrence and Dufferin. So orthodontist upstairs.
Yes,
Okay.
my mom used to now.
Okay, okay, okay.
Years ago, but she's
Yeah, yeah,
like, she's
yeah.
70 now.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
this
yeah.
is-
I
Whoa, I was like, oh,
Right.
nice. Also,
Well, yeah, I do. I have my nieces
Well,
and nephews.
yeah.
Rogers Valley.
Did he tell you that you had to?
I love it.
Yes, he was. He was very nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah,
Go
awesome.
into it all.
Yes.
Remember.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you.
That's very good.
Well, plus, I thought it was a small charge.
Yeah, well, that's awesome. Very good. Hey, there's an opportunity.
Oh, maybe it's
One bedroom, you rent over right now.
Yeah, I go back for my, check it out.
Yeah, probably those are probably the only ones that do, because
Yeah, I love
property
this.
values have gone up so
Yeah.
much, but rent hasn't.
I don't keep it out there.
Everything else, they show up and charge us.
Where is your office?
In a total.
Yeah.
Well, I work from home.
Okay, are you able to meet people like most globally?
Absolutely.
Okay.